Okay, so hello. Today topic is about the Canary monitoring, and I would like to describe you what it means, why this term is used. But what is more important, I would like to show you how you can use it on your day-to-day work and how you can benefit from it, that your work will be more effective and less stressful. So maybe before we start, can you raise the hand who is familiar with SRE term? Just to check. Okay. Quite a few of you. That's what I expect after today and yesterday talks. But just that if you are not aware, the explanation is here, and that's the person who is using the DevOps practices and working close with production systems. So that's the definition from Wikipedia, quite nice. And what to expect from today, or more like what are my needs in the day-to-day work and how I see it. It's basically first, I would like to know that my system that I'm responsible for is working or it's not working before the customers will be noticing that. The good example I heard just like half an hour ago, and it's also good talk about it because the WhatsApp is down, so that kind of need is quite valid. The second is that I would like also when I'm changing something to be quickly able to check that what I did is still not breaking any important part of the system. And third, when there is a break, accidental or intentional, I would like to know how long it takes and when it takes, basically. So I'm Marek Śmigielski. I have like 20 years of experience in IT in lots of different roles, including my last, let's say, 3 years being a product owner. So I'm kind of good prepared to be on the different, to see the production from different angles. And as the title suggests, let me introduce to the hero, so the Canary bird. Before the computers in ancient days, in the mines, coal miners were using the canary birds as a sign of anything that dangerous can happen to them down in the mine. Yes, so they were using the bird, taking them down, and when the bird, in fact, that you probably suspect that it will be dead, but no, they didn't wait until the bird will be dead, but just stop singing. That was enough for them to know that they need to escape as soon as possible. And the bird was taken with them because that was a precious tool for their work. And just before we talk exactly about the Canary monitoring, I would like to show you a little bit perspective of the user, how I see it, and what the user needs to do on the sample website. I picked a e-commerce website because I hope that everybody is familiar with this use case. So there's a Amazon website. So you basically land on the first page, yes, and what you see here is a landing page with some pictures, and then you are encouraged to make some purchases, because that is the fact that it's not a lot of people who just browse the bookstore to find out what are the books about, but they want to purchase the books. And they browse some categories, so to see what is inside, maybe to check the top 5 books. And of course, they were looking for site reliability workbook. So they are very happy that it is here. The price is okay, it's available, so we can get this to be purchased. They are adding this to the shopping cart, yes, with, of course, Amazon suggested some quite a good books as well. So I want to be better SRE. I bought them all together. And the user journey does not end here, yes, because he didn't make a purchase. So he will also go to the delivery address, make a payment, place an order, and only after the order is placed, he is thinking, okay, my work is done. Yes, my journey finished. And from user perspective, it does not really matter why he cannot finish this journey in the first place. So maybe your website is down, maybe the ESP is down, maybe his internet cable is down or Wi-Fi at home is down. It does not really change anything for him. Or the JavaScript breaks. Yes, so I will get back to that in a bit more details when we will talk about it from the DevOps perspective. But before that, should I use this kind of monitoring? So there are two possibilities, basically, of the system. There's Saturday night. Your boss's wife wants to purchase a book. He discovered that the website is down for some reason. He tells to his husband, who is your boss. He takes the phone, quite angry, calls you in the Saturday night with no pleasant voice, explaining that, again, the site is down. You are also getting the bad emotions during your work. It's not pleasant to fix something that you basically don't know even that it was down, and your boss calls you. So you try to kind of make everything working again, but sometimes, or quite often, it finished in even bigger disaster than it was before, because you basically don't know what you're doing. It's Saturday night, you are annoyed. Again, your boss calls you. Yes, so that's the red path. And Canary Bird is on the green path that is tracking this site all the time and is pushing the statistics into the alerting system. And as soon as it discovered something is out of the normal situation scenario, like stop singing, he alerts you via some kind of notifications, emails, PagerDuty, whatever you use. And that's again Saturday night, but this time it's not your boss that called you, but the PagerDuty. So it's kind of, you can't be angry from PagerDuty calling you, you just do your job, it's your own call on duty, you fix the system, you have a little bit more insights what had happened. And then on Monday morning, you come to your boss with the SRE report, showing him, our site was down for 5 minutes, I fixed it on Saturday night, he is happy, give you a pay raise, yes? So that's the second scenario. And then maybe a little bit different angle, so sometimes, maybe it happens, that we as a SRE, or you are the situation that you basically don't want to see that the site is down, not up, and you put the cardboard, but it will not stop. Yes, so we don't see the system state, but still it will not stop all your, let's say, awareness channel, and somebody will shout someday that, wow, your system is down. Yes, so maybe you want to take your cardboard off to see it, what's happening. And again, we are on the e-commerce website. So this time we look it from what we should check to be on the safe side. And that is not about HTTP monitoring. It's not the HTTP monitoring talk. It's about canal monitoring. So from user perspective. And when user lands on the page, he needs to see a pictures. He needs to see a CSS that was loaded properly. He needs to maybe have some kind of marker, so you can check some kind of marker that there's a card, for example, rendered correctly, and it's not like random page site is down, yes, because it will render the images correctly as well. So that's the change of the mindset. We need to think about a user, but we are the DevOps, so we need to add all of our knowledge onto that. And, well, sorry for that. And the category page is exactly the same. So there need to be items there. Yes? So we need to check about the items. It is a little bit more complicated than checking HTTP status. Then when there's a card, that's a quite interesting page. And I think I don't know the good answer to that, how the canary monitoring should be done. I would need to have more thoughts about it. But like simple things like image, price, availability, you can find the good product that will be always available. But how do you check the by-click button? The user does not care about that if your REST API is operational or not. He cares if he can click buy button and the item will be added to the cart. Yes, and maybe the JavaScript is broken. How do you check it from the user perspective? Maybe the front-end developers find a good way to convince some high manager to push you the new commit on the Friday night, This was very important, critical for the campaign, and unfortunately it contains the bug in the JavaScript. And then whole weekend the site is down. So that's considerations that you need to think about when you design the Canary monitoring scenario. And the shopping cart can be seen as the last page, but it is not. So how do you proceed further? Yes, how do you place the order in the method that will not destroy your delivery operation team with 100 SRE books? Yes, because they will be like, maybe you will ship it to some US destination site. And how do you not make it run out of stock? So you need to clean after yourself when you do this Canary monitoring. And then, like if we have this use case cover and we know how to do that from the DevOps perspective, then is some important considerations and how to build it properly. So first is quite obvious, it needs to be reliable. I show here our stack, how we do that, but it's just an example. That's the tools that I trust somehow. But you need to make your decision as well, like what you have on your site, what's the good working for you. So we have the CloudWatch as a trigger for the current checking. We have AWS Lambda, because it's like cheap working. We have again the CloudWatch that we store the matrices in. We have Grafana to show like monitoring dashboards, because we are like visual like things to see how it will operate. I will show you some examples how it is useful not only to know the system up and down, but also some additional metrics from that. And we use the PagerDuty for alarming when something is not okay. Then second thing that is also super important is that it needs to be external, because your user will not pay attention to the JavaScript that is broken, and they will not really say, okay, you have JavaScript, but maybe if you will call the support team, that they will say, okay, JavaScript is broken, fix JavaScript, yes, because I need to debug on the console to make an order, but regular users don't do that. And in my experience, in my past like 20 years, I have seen every part of the system that breaks, including ESP, firewalls, NAT, gateways, switches, NAS system, databases, websites, applications, basically everything. And it's not that some part of the system usually prefer to break than the other. It's not like that. Something will break, you don't know what will break, because otherwise you will fix it ahead of time. That's a kind of, at least my way of working. So you need to be outside, and then if you are in the cloud, pick the other region, that's the simplest. If you are on-prem, maybe go to cloud, or other way around, and find someone who will do that for you. And next, it's also important, I would say the same as the previous two, is code organization. This is not a production code that you will do, but this is the professional code. So you need to maintain it in the future. That's not the last version of your software, and they will find out to change it in the way that you need to fix your monitoring scripts or whatever you have in some elegant way, and you don't want to rewrite them from scratch every time, because you will not have this time as well. So you need to have a proper layers, you need to have the good abstraction over the APIs, you need to have the client APIs implemented in the nice way. You cannot do that in one file. On the maybe first prototype version you can, but then later split it to the versions. You need to use the Git, you need to use some kind of practices that you have in the company, like Git flow or whatever it is, code reviews. You don't want to write it yourself and then nobody knows what's inside as well. So that's all the things that you need to be aware of. And basically, after that, you get the nice dashboards. It's example from our system with the use case inside, so you know also how it finish when it is done. So we have a use case name document verification. We have an overall status of this particular monitoring probe. We have the availability, so this is for 4 hours from yesterday, I think, or day before. But you can have the metrics for like last 90 days or last 1 year, yes, depending how much statistic do you have. And that's the good base for SLO, SLI, whatever you use, and how do you think about it, or just the marker where we are in terms of the availability in general. Yes, it's done recurrently, so all the time, night and day. So you will have that vision. You have the steps, so each step can break, so you will know on which step the scenario finished. You have the time metrics, so you can monitor how much time each step took, including the network latency, including the other regions, so you need to make sure about it. It's not a performance test, so you don't have to be worried that it's like 5 seconds. Oh, it's 5 seconds. We don't care about that much. If it's 5 seconds stable all the time and user does not complain, that means it's okay, yes? Maybe that's a network latency or something else. And then you can have, like here, the last errors from the monitoring script, so you will be quickly able to check what's happened when the probe finished with an error. And then if you have that kind of, let's say, base understanding, let's talk about the challenges, because this is not one monitoring that fixes all your problems that you have, unfortunately, but it's very useful, and I would say that's the first one I would implement in any system. So the challenge number 1 is how to know what breaks if alarm goes off. Yes, so we have a microservice architecture. That's not architecture of our system. Hopefully, it's not. I hope it's not your case as well. It's some random diagram showing multiple connections, but it presents the complexity that we need to work with. And then, like, if database is down, what it means, yes? And how can I track quickly that database is a problem, not ASP, yes? When I only know that the scenario is failing or that JavaScript is a problem. So it will not give you the clue, the Canary monitoring will not give you this clue. You need to have additional monitorings as well. That's the first. And second, what you can do is basically check. So I put my database down and see what fails. Yes, maybe this first page is a static page, so it will not fail. But the second will fail because it cannot fetch the products or categories. So when you check multiple places, you will know how the system behaves on the, like alarms will behave. And you usually have few scenarios, so you will also be able to detect it. And second, quite a big issue is that it will tell you that the system is not working when it is not working. And if your boss wife is constantly checking, she will find out about it as well. So you can have a bad luck. And for sure, some users will be impacted already. So you detect the outage basically after it. And that's not an ideal situation, at least for me, that I didn't anticipate it, that my site will be down or the disk space on the Cassandra is run out. Yes, so it's not very pleasant later to explain that we forget about add some volume or whatever to Cassandra to basically not have the situation. And here on this diagram, on this Grafana, basically graphs, that's also from our system. And it shows you that you can basically, by monitoring the response time, you can predict the outage a little bit, let's say, in some scenarios. So you can see here that there's a few steps. On the first one, it's all aggregated, so it's kind of mess. But on the second one, there's a step, third step. We verify that it's pretty constant with some glitches. And the last one step is clearly showing the pattern that we don't expect it. Yes, so that we have close to 0 seconds. And then we are up to almost 30 seconds for some period of time. So that was the scenario that basically system tried to tell us. This Canary bird was singing lower and lower to tell us that something will bad happen in a matter of like days, minutes, or you just need to take a look at it. So coming back to the Canary bird, that's the other picture. The bird was used not only in mines, they were used also in the First World War, in the tunnels, to detect the poison gas that enemy army tried to kill basically soldiers. And the scenario is the same. Like I show you just in a minute before, Canary bird detects that something, we don't know what, and only if it is already present there. On this picture, it's that these birds were not used into the war. They were rescued, in fact, by the soldiers of the British Army from French town. So they were not killed as well, like the first one. They are all alive, or maybe not anymore. So, what are the benefits? Yes, because I told you that how to do that. I hope you all get it now. And now, what are the benefits that I was promising you? So the first one is CLI. I will show you. Hopefully, it will work. That's what I do when I deploy something new. So I execute the script, sometimes few of them, and they will just like quickly go through the scenario and say, okay, everything passed, yes? And that's a quick 5-step scenario, 6 of them. So it also involves this one, in fact, also involved having the mobile phone when we want to do that from the full user perspective. But when we do deploy on the systems, it's hard to ask the SRE or colleagues to always check that, take the Android phone, install the application, like sample application, go through whole scenario, submit document or liveness session, that you need to take a picture of your face and things like that. So it will take like 10 minutes. And honestly, you can do it twice, 3 times maybe. But ask somebody to do it every time. He will skip it for maybe not always, but he will skip it like every second time or something like that. And he will not know. He will deploy, pods are up and running, everything is green, scenario is successful, yes, but in fact he does not know. So, and sometimes these scenarios are pretty long. So it can be like 11 steps, for example, on the other systems when it involves a little bit more going around the complex systems. So the first benefit is really about the immediate knowing what's happening. And a little bit more to the previous is also when somebody calls me, like on the staging, for example, that the system is not working, what I do is I execute it from my laptop and say, okay, it's working, it's not working. If it's not working, I don't bother to him to ask, okay, what is the situation? Yes, because I see it. Yes, third step breaks. Yes, I can fix it. I don't have to go to him and say, okay, what is the situation? But if everything is successful, I can say, okay, my tests are okay. What is your problem? Yes, so it's different story than saying to the one person that comes to you and saying the system does not work. Okay, give me all the proofs that it's really not working, and I will wait. Yes. Did you check the logs? Send me the logs. And then I find out, oh, really, yes, service mesh is basically down. So you are right, yes, that was a good catch. And coming back to the grand tour. So when we do, that is controversial, let's say, because when we do deployment, always it's 0 downtime, yes? Deployment. So we don't do other deployments, especially in business hours. But sometimes, maybe on the pre-prod or staging environments, when we want really to check that the deployment script is okay, we will see that, okay, we have a pause in 20 minutes or 15 minutes before all the pods or nodes restarted or were refreshed and things like that. Yes, so we will notice this downtime, even though we didn't want to do that. But this is great information for us to better prepare for the production deployment, for example, or alert product or business team. Sorry, guys, we will have a downtime of half an hour. And they will say, okay, how do you know? Because we have tested, yes, so we know. And then when outage happens on the Saturday night and everything is started automatically, then they have a complaint for the customers. You can cross-check, okay, we have a downtime of the system. We know what's happened, yes? That's exactly between like 1 a.m. and 2 a.m. There was a backup happening. The third one is the performance. So when you note all the matrices all the time on the live system, when something is changing, like in the scenario here, when the product team came with the better algorithms that will detect the liveness session or matching, then these algorithms are really better, but they are also slower. So we saw this difference of like almost like half, and say to them, okay guys, something happened. And they say, yes, algorithms are better, but they are also slower. Yes, they are slower. Why didn't you tell us about it? Because, you know, that's they are bigger and more accurate this time. Okay, but also they know that that's a good occasion to talk to the development team and show the value of our work as SRE or the DevOps, yes, because we have the insight into the production. We know what's happening there. That will be a small one. So the fourth benefit, it's really a lot of benefits, so you should be overwhelmed with how good this tool is. Detecting non-deterministic and hidden issues in the system. It happens to us twice. I will not tell you maybe that much of the details, what was the precise situation there. But this monitoring is running all the time, multiple times. Like if you have it like every 5 minutes, it's thousands of tries. And when only one request will fail every, let's say, 1,000 requests, you will know it in around a day in that scenario. And the test team will know about it in 10 years with all the tries that they need to do. So we can say, okay, 1% of the requests is failing. We don't know why. Maybe it's a product issue. We can investigate further, give the logs, they will fix, and we get back. And also, when there's a situation that is happening on strange hours, like changing of a date, maybe changing from winter to summertime, that sometimes in some systems the time management is tricky, and it will detect it. And I don't think that anyone from here has the testing team checking how the system behaves when changing from winter to summertime. And the last, the same scenario, when it is done external, on some other stack of the tools, can be used to monitor any system that you have that is similar, like staging, pre-prod, prod, different regions, without no really effort on your side. So you can also check them immediately on all of them, and you can cross-check them as well. So see, okay, on staging we have this kind of performance. On production we have much less than on staging. Maybe there's some difference in infrastructure that we need to take a look at there. So key takeaway from this is, first, that I would like that you are all agree that I proved it, that it's Swiss Army knife for us as a SRE. And maybe there's two sides. So it can be used in many different scenarios, in many different situations, but it is Swiss Army knife. So don't try to use it to cut the whole tree, yes, because there's other tools to do that. So you need to have different kind of monitorings for different purposes, not only one. But here, with this one, you will be able to do quickly many things. The second is that when you do it properly, it's best value for money, because you will get a pay rise when you detect alarm before the boss wife. And also because you will write it once and use it in multiple scenarios on multiple environments. And your QA team will also have less problems. The next one, it's easy to implement. When you use the like Python tools, you don't have to be that much careful about every step and so on. It's kind of fast. Yes, you just follow the user journey. And when you do that as SRE, at the same time you are learning what the system is doing for your real users. So it's also quite good for you that you know what's behind that, all the Kubernetes pods that are running there. And what is the most important for me, it will reduce my stress at work, because I don't have to bother all the time if the system is up or not. I just know it, and if it is not, somebody will get alerted and fix it. That is on the duty. So that was it. You can I write some articles about it on Medium, so you can read it if you want, and you can find me on the mainly LinkedIn or in the IDEMIA Poland if you want. And I believe that we have some time for the questions.